Right, step 6 has us install the radio set, and the main body of the radio set needs to be painted in the 75. Now, the instruction says 75 all over, but actually, looking at some examples from doing an internet search, the front face is actually black. So I'm going to keep this is primer at the moment. I'm going to keep the primer as the base black because it actually looks pretty good. So we can just pick out some details, some lights and switches and bits and pieces. But while we're painting the body in green, we can also paint the insides of these hatches, which are also strangely green when the rest of it is aluminium. For the hatches to be green, I think it's a little odd, but that's what they're telling us to do, so that's what I'm going to do. And then when we've done that, we've got some black to paint on the seats for the seat cushions, and also some little bits on these hatches at the same time. And then we've got the inside of the boxes to do, and I wasn't sure whether I was going to do my usual sort of gunmetal for that, or whether I was going to use one of the clear colours, but I think I'm going to go with gunmetal. I can always put a clear colour over it afterwards, can't I? So that's the next step, is the bronze green, and I'm using 1071 ICM's camouflage green for that, which I think is a fairly good match. Okay, detail painting is done, so that takes me back to step 6 where we install the radio that we've just painted up. So it's quite a nice tight fit. We just need a little bit of glue just to be sure underneath, but I don't think it'd actually come out, but you're supposed to glue the bits in, so that's what I'm going to do. Right, let's just get some tweezers on that. There we go. There we go. It's such a tight fit that a little bit of paint really messes it up. So it's not quite going to the back. So I'm just going to give it a coax. There we go. We don't want it overhanging because we've got this seat or cushion or something going right in. But there you go. That looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Happy with that. Okay, with the radio set in, we can put all of our seats and cushions in. So there's 3 pieces to add. So step 7 installs this, which is just this little cutout here goes over the lump that you can see just in front of the radio there. Like so, and that's that then installed. Then step 8, we install this. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the top edge that goes inside of that area there. It's a nice tight fit, and then the seat back goes into the 2 lumps at the back. There we go, that's the seats assembled. They're looking cool, so I'm happy with that, and that gets us to the end of step 9. So step 14 has us install the lids into this, but I have had a play, and you can put them in and glue them into place quite easily from this side. So as long as we don't put the little roof bit in that allows the turret to be mounted, we'll be able to get in and see both sides and do that. So for now, I'm just going to install this and skip 14 and go straight to 15, which installs that like so. So again, we can just glue that in. Now it's all painted up. I am going to just take away some of this aluminium paint though, because it's just going to get in the way of the bonding, and I want to use a thinner glue, so it'll just help that process. So just here where we've got some overspray, you don't have to get it all off, just enough of the parts to bond. I'm just using the back of a knife here. There we go, and we can do the same on the part, just help it along a little bit. There we go. So I can get that into place, get it nice and square, close our gaps up, and then I'm using plastic magic for this. Hold it there for a sec, and then on step 16 we're putting this in, which goes in like so. So let's just get my knife out of the way so we don't have an accident. So that puts up there like that. Just going to need a little bit of a pinch in, I think. So let me just get a clamp. So I found a clamp wasn't helpful. It was actually popping the part out because it's only just sitting on this ledge. So I'm going to do this a slightly different way, and we'll hold it in place with masking tape, which I'm not usually a fan of because of the risk of getting glue under the tape and it travelling along and making a mess. But in this instance, I don't see an alternative. So what we're going to do is a bit of tape on that edge. Gently squeeze the parts together. Bring the tape down the other side. Just make sure it's nice and tight. I'll just leave that for a second just to hold it in place. Like I said, don't do that very often, but it can be a handy trick when you need to. So there we go, that's step 15 and 16 done. Step 17 is adding the piece underneath, which is this here, which plops into there like that. We'll do when the masking tape's off. So we'll leave that for a sec while that glue's drying and see where we go. 18, 19, 20 and 21 are all building up hatches. So then we get to these two little side panels, which I'm guessing go at the back here. So let's have a look at that. So it seems to go in like that, and then that's going to go in like that. Okay, get it. Okay, again, just going to remove the paint from the gluing edges here. Let's move that out of the way, and that and that. Right, let's get these panels out. I'll take that off now, that seems to be holding. Okay. So the fit of this has been lovely so far, really, really nice. But right now, it's not quite as happy as it was. There's a little notch goes into this little point here, and that seems to be pushing the part out and causing a bit of a gap. Okay, one on. Let's just try this other one, make sure I'm happy with the fit first. Yeah, same problem. These two little lumps, I'm not quite sure what they're supposed to do. They're actually getting in the way a little bit. So I'm actually removing that one. So that's much better. Yeah. I think the idea of the little lump is to make sure that that stays out and doesn't push in, which now I've just scraped it away a little bit is what's happening. But actually it's pushing the parts out a little bit. So it's like when you've got peg and pin system, often they cause the parts not to mate properly. We might have hairline little crack there. I'm just giving it a push. Right, see how that gets on. Right, and that pops into there. Fit of that is tremendous. Just clicks into place. So let's glue that in. There we go. It's starting to look like a ferret now, isn't it? So that completes step 22, 23. Again, we can put the hatches in later. Obviously, if there's a hatch that you want to have closed, now's the time to put it in, and I'm contemplating having one of the back ones closed. Right, so that then puts us onto step 24 we've already done, which was building up this. And then step 25 is adding that. Now this hatch, let me just take that off. That is going to be open, and it sort of sits at 90 degrees like that. It's got some stoppers underneath it that have yet to be added, so we don't want to add that just yet, and it's going to complicate the painting anyway. Right, so okay, that seems to fit lovely. So just gonna take the paint off, mating surfaces. Okay, let's get this front. Oh, now before we do that, we need to add the steering wheel. So I need to hold my horses. With small parts like this, especially ones that are going to be hardly seen, it's just quick to go in and brush on the primer. I find that by the time you've got your airbrush out and messed around with that and then cleaned your airbrush, it's almost a pointless exercise. And as long as you brush it on nice and thin and what have you, you don't have any problems really. There we go. So the instructions call for the steering wheel to be painted 85, which is coal black. So I think I'm going to do that just because it's a different black to the seats. So we'll dig that out in a sec. Just going to let that dry. Well, that is the steering wheel painted. The hub is aluminium, like the rest of the interior. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the XF paint off my brush on that aluminium part, because it'll just add a little bit of shine to the aluminium paint when we put it down. So I've missed a little bit of that. So I went all the way around it, thought I got everything. Right, we are at step 30 now, and we're working through suspension bits and pieces. Yeah, and that keeps us going pretty much up to the mud guards. So step 44 is all the way suspension items, but actually the very first item is this item here, which is the mount for the spare wheel. So I'm going to clean that up first. Okay, a little spot of glue. I was a bit heavy-handed there, but never mind. Okay, so next thing is parts from the C-sprue. So I think most of what's on here is suspension parts, and it's cleaning up all of these. There's a 6 and a 7, so yeah, they are handed. So it's really about making sure we get the right one. The 7 appears to always be on the left. So what we'll do is we'll do all the 7s first, and then we can go around, put all the lefts on, and then do all the 6s, I think. So there we go. Yeah, the lump faces up. So just make sure it's sitting correctly. There we go. Right, I'll crack on and get the rest of these done, both the 7 and the 6s, and then we'll come back and we've got some parts to assemble that 2 halves. So these bits here, 2 halves to make 4, so we've got 8 pieces to clean up and glue together first. Right, we are on step 33. We've got those parts glued in now. They look great. So that's building up these here, which are the main arms for the wheels to go on. And we're making 2 sets made out of 14 and 12. So clearly these are handed. So that's 1 set. 2 sets. So let's just have a look at this. So get rid of that sprue gate at the back, and at the front don't have to worry too much about cleaning up because both of those ends will be hidden, one inside the wheel, one inside the body. So we can just trim them down. And what I'm interested in now is the fit, because we've got pins and dimples to line up. And you know my thoughts on pins and dimples, they usually create gaps. Yeah. That looks like it's going to fit okay. What you've got though is you've got a little bow in the middle. So as you hold it tight on each end, you can clamp that down. So these parts are going to need a little bit of clamping. So see if we can do it with this first. Yeah, that looks okay. Got a better idea. So a little mini crocodile clip seems to be doing the job better. So what I've done, well, I'll show you, is put the 2 halves together, get them lined up as best you can, because there's actually a little bit of play backwards and forwards in there. It's not overly positive. Then put the clamp on and then just take that opportunity to finally align things. And when you're happy, like I am now, you can get some glue in there. I'm using the extra thin quick setting. It's really good at capillary action, the extra thin, on parts that are already clamped. There we go. So that's the first one built up. So we'll do set 1, and then when we've done set 1 we can put those in. They basically go on the left hand side, and then there is a little part to cut off, which doesn't tell you in that instruction, but it tells you in this instruction, so that's interesting. So that's that little bit there, is it? Oh no, that there. I'm going to have a look at, yeah. Okay, Well, we could do that now actually, and then I can crack on with the others and you can see the finished job. So I'll just trim that off. Okay, that is nicely cleaned up now, and we can just this front face where the wheel hub goes on, just want to make sure that's totally smooth so the wheel doesn't get forced out. And then when that's fully dry, we can just go around and scrape the join seam. Okay, right, let me get this other one built and then we'll take it from there. Right, time to fit these, and what I've found is these two holes are actually slightly different. Doesn't matter which way I put these in. This one at the front, doesn't matter if I use that one or that one, fits in lovely and snug. It's nice tight fit. Yeah, can't get it out. This one is pretty slack. So yeah, the hole diameters appear to be slightly different. So this one perfectly aligns itself. This one you're going to have to do yourself. It's not a big issue, but it's just something to be aware of if you come to build this. There we go. So that's the first two wheel arms on. So I'll get the other two sorted and then we can move on. Right, step 36 now has us building up 4 of the spring elements of the suspension. And the springs are actually quite nicely done. There's a little seam on each side, just a quick whip over with a soft sponge deals with that. And then we've got a shaped fitting to make sure you put it in the right way around. You can see there's a little bit of play in there, but it's not too bad. I'm just going to put some extra thin in there. And whilst that glue is still a little bit emollient, we're going to install this first one. So the spring slots into that big slot at the top there. There we go. There we go. That looks good, doesn't it? That fit is spot on. Okay, that's looking rather cool. So I'll get the other 3 done, get them on, which gets us to the end of step 38 then. So something very interesting just happened. Let me just get my pointy stick. So something interesting just happened. We put the spring into its mating part the correct way around, and when we put the glue in, suddenly this part here split. You can see there's a line there where the part just split open. So there was clearly a weakness in the plastic there, and the glue exploited that. So I need to close that back up. That's not going to be wide enough. I think I'm going to have to just hold it. I can see a crack. Oh yeah, part's completely broken in two now. So I'm not sure what caused that. There must be a weakness in the plastic, possibly from the flow of the plastic when the part was made. So hold that together for a sec. There we go. Don't think that's going to be overly noticeable. What we will do is install that one now, just to make sure everything's fitting as the glue dries. Right, what's wrong there? There we go. The fit of this, I'm finding, in the main is very good, but it's also a little bit inconsistent. So you get really tight fit or a bit of a slack fit. And this is the first one that hasn't just dropped into place. The other two did. Whether I've got things offline a little bit with that broken part, possibly. There we go. You're never going to know that was broken, I don't think. And we've got a wheel there and a mud guard there. And we're probably going to do some weathering, I would imagine. So all in all, it won't be noticeable. The way to install these is to put this thin end in first on there like so. And then pivot the part back so that the wider end is lined up and going into the correct piece, and then that allows you to get the top piece in, and then it feels a bit tight, but once the top bit drops in, it all sits comfortably in the right place. Okay, that is our suspension springs in. They're looking fairly cool. So that completes. We've just done step 36, 37, 38. So we've got the underside of this to look at now. Oh, and then we're on mudguards. Cool. So we've got a couple of small bits to go in. So let's have a look at those. Let's get this out of the way. So the parts are 9 and 10. So actually bigger than they look on the instructions. So if we do 10 first, which is step 39. Let's drop that off. Okay. The one thing about this kit is there is very, very little seam. Some of the parts I've not even thought justified needing a seam cleanup. Right, so let's just check our orientation. So it's this one, and it goes in to that slot there. Let's get some tweezers. Did I clean that up? Don't think I did. There we go, that looks better. So that plops into there. It's a nice tight fit. And there is a part going to fit into there. So I want to just have a look at that, I think, which is part 16, which is this little arm here. Some of the sprue gates I'm finding to be a little bit thick. So, you know, almost as big or bigger than the part in places, and some of them have actually deformed the part, one or two of them. Okay. This is one delicate little part. Okay, so that I'll get out. So that goes in there. Oh, you're kidding me. Right. So, as I look at the instructions, this goes into there and then connects to that piece there. That piece there is that piece there that I've been told to remove. So you can see it there. Then they say remove it. and then you've got to attach something to it. Why have they told you to remove it? I don't get it. That is annoying. Right, I've misunderstood. I've removed all 4 and you just removed the ones from the back, so it's my fault. Damn. Okay. Right, okay. So you're supposed to remove it off the back ones, and I've removed it off all 4. My fault, not Airfix's. Not reading my instructions properly. Okay, so I think it's going to be easier to assemble that before we do anything else. So it wants to be at about a 90-degree angle. I've got it facing the wrong way. I'm not having a good morning, am I? Right. There we go. Now it's facing the right way. Plop that in. Okay, so what we do need now is something to connect that, so I'll be right back. Right, got a little bit of plastic strip and it's a little bit wide, so what I'm going to do to start with is just thin it out. Of course, most of you will read your instructions properly and not have to do this. But I thought you'd be interested to see how I get myself out of the mess I just made. Okay, it had a rounded end, so I'm going to just thin it out this way as well. It's always worth keeping some rod and sheet and strip in stock just for these little moments. Okay. Right, so I'm just going to even that out now I've reduced it. That'll make it nice and smooth and even thickness, nearly. And then we can go in with a smoother one. There we go. So, made it a bit thinner. I'm just going to even it on this side as well. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, and then we can round the end. I'm just going to take the sharp edge off a little bit. I think the actual part sort of came down to a point a little bit, but it's hardly going to get seen this, so just going to test fit it for length. Where's my pencil? Right, I'm not sure how much of this last bit you've missed until I come to edit, but my iPad memory just filled up and stopped recording, which has only ever happened once before, so I wasn't aware of it. It doesn't beep or anything to tell you it's happening, it just happens, and of course I'm sat under the iPad, so I can't see. So anyway, it stopped recording at some point, so what we've done is we've taken some white plastic strip, we thinned it down with a file to get it a bit narrower. We've then rounded off the end, measured it, cut it to length, and then turned it on the side and sliced it down the middle so that we have two little thin pieces like that, which replace the part that I completely negligently removed. So in the instructions it tells you to remove the pip that's on there from the back ones. I removed it from all four. So once you've glued it on, it looks fine. So no one's ever gonna know. Okay, step 43 has us adding these last little parts, and you do have to be careful of the orientation. First glance they look like they're sort of identical each side, but if you look closely in this picture here, which is really handy, it's a slight P shape, so it's flat on that side and then you get a little bulge on this side, and you want to make sure that the outside edge of the P is facing up. So you just need to make sure that that outside edge of the P is facing towards the spring. Otherwise, the fit of these is really nice in the main, as long as you've got everything else lined up correctly. You won't have any problems. So you can just push it in, it holds in place. Dab of glue and you're done. That looks pretty authentic to me.